How much of a political mistake was this by the Prime Minister?
It was a huge one. And let me quote to you Stephen Hammond, the Conservative Member of Parliament for Wimbledon, who said that the events of the last 48 hours have failed to uphold the highest standards in public life, which we are all expected to uphold. So the problem was here that Conservative members of Parliament were not happy. The majority in the House of Commons went down, what was it, from 80 to 18. And basically, in the shorthand out for all of us outside of Westminster is Owen Paterson was put into Parliament to represent the people in his constituency. And he wasn't. He was being paid to go around the House of Commons and raise issues on behalf of two companies. And that's not what he's there for. I mean, I bet everybody early this morning wasn't aware that there's an Act of Parliament which is supposed to regulate lobbying in this country. People like me and my company have to register every time we interact officially with a minister or special advisor. And the whole thing is made a joke by this. And when the Conservative Party was so unhappy, that's when the time was up on this ridiculous 24 hours. You go to Parliament to represent your constituents. That's what viewers of this programme expect. That's what people in Britain expect. And why on earth the Prime Minister's judgment was so askew on this is hard to comprehend.
Yeah, Owen Paterson obviously maintains that he hasn't done anything wrong. There's going to be this emergency vote on Monday. Do you think, independent of Owen Paterson, there should be an overhaul of how MPs go through the process if they're found guilty of wrongdoing?
100%, and a great intelligent question above the noise, yes. Because the system for looking at MPs and their alleged misdemeanours is properly overdue reform. That is correct. And the problem was that really valid point, because I know in recent years there's some very decent MPs who've not had a fair hearing from the committee in the Commons. But you can't introduce such a powerful point just when it looks like you're doing it to save your mate. And that was the problem, that a really valid issue about the way in which MP disciplinary issues are handled, you couldn't get it through because it looked like it was being done at the last minute to help a former member of the cabinet.
It felt like, Kevin, everyone in the room was following the rules, but for Boris Johnson, it was different. And in fact, if his friend can't follow the rules, then he'll just go and retrospectively change the rules. And he has a little bit of a history of doing that. Yeah.
But you see, what's really interesting about your point is that the Prime Minister ultimately acted and took the right decision. And what that means is that they are aware that you have to kill off these stories. Because the biggest danger for the Conservative Party several years out from an election is that they allow this old image of sleazy, out for themselves, corrupt. If that sticks, because at the moment you're looking at a government that has spent more public money than almost any government in history. The old political dividing lines are totally up in the air. Labour's starting now to really get its house in order under the leadership of Keir Starmer. But there's a long way to go. And somebody woke up yesterday, put the coffee in front of the Prime Minister and eventually took the right action. But it was so embarrassing because it just looked and smelt bad. And that's not my words. That's loads of Conservative members of Parliament.